You are now listening to Ride With Me, the Fraternity Podcast.
Welcome to Ride With Me, episode 53. Today is May 29, 2021. Today I have a special guest all the way from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
You got it.
My TikTok friend, Gary.
Good morning. I guess it is morning.
It is morning. It is morning for, we're 3 hours apart, but It is morning. It is very morning.
How you doing?
I'm good. Just a little bummed out, Gary. So for the people that have been on my podcast, yes, it's no secret. I do record the episode a couple of days in advance. I don't really record it on the day of. I just like to say the day of because that's the day I post it. So technically today is not the 29th. I just like to play with that. And I feel so bad because this is our second take. I recorded an episode with Gary a few days ago, and it was on a Wednesday. And I came into, I have everything set up in the garage, but for that day, because we are such in a 3-hour time difference, I didn't want to keep you up late. So right. I moved my equipment to the guest bedroom, and I think I unplugged something wrong, or I was like, what happened to the audio? No, it was such a natural conversation.
It was a good one.
And so today we're going to try to repeat it as best as possible. But yes,
we'll see what happens.
Again, my buddy Roger tried to throw me under the bus last time he was on here. Okay, yes. This is today is Saturday, actually. Just not the 29th.
Right.
But you guys forget what I just said the last 10 seconds. Gary. So I met Gary on TikTok. I used TikTok to promote my podcast, and it's actually helped the downloads, and it's actually helped the subscription on YouTube. That one day I am just playing with it, and Gary has a video with his wife that I thought was freaking hilarious. Instantly I started following him. And he was live at the time. So I'm sitting there watching his live. But back then, back then you had only like 6,000 followers maybe?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
And
when I first met you.
So, it was every Saturday morning ritual that I would go and watch your lives. And, where it got to the point, my wife's like, what were you doing? I'm like, oh, talking to Gary. Like, you were known, talking to Gary. And she was like, who's Gary? Gary's the guy from TikTok. Oh, okay. So then I showed her my, some of your videos. And then I give you props, Gary, because I can't get my wife to do another podcast episode. You get your wife in those videos almost every time.
Yeah, I pull her screaming and dragging her feet, but she does them. Once I get her going, we have a great time doing them.
I bet. Like I said, I had my wife do one episode, and then she told me, I'm retired, never again. And people tell me, dude, she did good, have her back on. I'm like, dude, you come tell her that because I can't get her back on.
Yeah, that could be it for her, huh?
I can't even get her to do a commercial, Gary.
Oh,
I'm like, babe, today we're going to promote, I don't know, the milk. Nope, she doesn't want to do it. And so I give you props for for your wife, doing that with you. That's awesome. That Wednesday when we recorded, my kids are like, well, who's Gary's? And I started showing them your videos. Oh, dude, they were cracking up.
I appreciate you doing that. We love it. We started doing it when COVID hit, and we kind of needed something to do, and wanted to embarrass our kids at first, but our kids are grown and out of the house, and it didn't really faze them, and we're like, doggone it, we really wanted to embarrass them. You ever embarrass your kids?
All the time, Gary, all the time. I took my boys to get their first vaccine a couple weeks ago, and you know how the theory is that we're going to become zombies,
Yeah.
Fully vaccinated. I still don't have the the urge for human flesh yet. And so when they sit you down in a different room and they tell you they're gonna kind of keep an eye on you for like 15 minutes, then they come up to you and they ask you, how do you feel? I know that because I did it. So I told my kids, when they come and ask you, how do you feel? You need to say you feel for the need of human flesh.
Oh my gosh.
And the little one, Julian, he was like too embarrassed to do it, but he's like the funny one. He's the one that actually talks more, and I get that from me, and I would assume he would have done it. No, he chickened out. I'm like, all right, well, at least I have one more kid. Let's see if, 1 out of 2, 50, see if I can get a 50-50 here. They come up to my son Nicholas, how do you feel? And he's like, fine. And I looked at him like, really? Like, really? And the nurse was like, well, what was he supposed to say? And I'm like, tell her now. And he says, I'm supposed to tell you that I feel like having human flesh. She stared at me for a second and understood that I was trying to be funny with the whole zombie apocalypse. Yeah. That she's like, I don't know if there's any restaurants nearby with that, but good luck.
That was good.
But
good come back for her.
I try to embarrass them all the time, and they gotten to the point where they're like, they don't even fall for it anymore. I walk in. I walk in and I'm like, I come home for lunch or home from work, and I'm like, dude, what are you guys doing? Like, get a job, you slackers, like, freeloaders, come on. But I try to embarrass them as much as I can. And also it's funny, you started TikTok because of the pandemic. I started a podcast because I needed a hobby.
Right.
And it started back in April of 2020.
That's what we did. I mean, we were kind of sitting around bored and thought, well, let's try this. And, like I said, once we tried it, we've enjoyed it so much and got to meet so many cool people and like yourself. And then I'll tell you, what, is it okay if I tell you what happened to really blow up our account?
Yeah, you know what? You sent me the video, but go ahead. And obviously what we're here, we have another 40 minutes, 50 minutes to talk. Right. Go for it.
I'll talk really slow. No. So I was on a live one morning and doing what I always do, just hanging out and talking and playing music. And I always wear a UFC hat that I have, baseball hat.
I've seen that.
And then in comes a person who their title was something about official TikTok person, made it look official, like they're from TikTok. And they said they were going to ban me because I was infringing on the copyright of UFC. So I was being banned. And I'm an actor. I kind of, I didn't want it to happen, but I wasn't too upset or anything. And I kind of flipped my hat around. Oh, how's this? Is this okay? I don't want to get banned. Is that good? Am I good now? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then they finally said, oh, you're okay. You're okay. I was just kidding. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, that video, your reaction is priceless.
Yeah. So he posted this, and it's a kid that actually put it on there. And he does this to people and then posts their reactions. And that video got 3.5 million views of me reacting the way I did. And the people who saw it are mostly in the gaming community and teenagers, middle schoolers, that kind of age group. And they saw the video of me and they all just went nuts saying, oh, he's so wholesome. He's crying. Oh, I feel so bad. Don't do this to old people anymore. You're so mean. And so they just loved me and they all came over and followed me. 100,000 of these kids came over and followed me on our account, or us, I should say, not just me. But
I was, after we finished talking on Wednesday, I actually went and looked at your account. So I never take notes. We just kind of freestyle it. We free talk it. Today I did take notes, and dude, I saw you had 117.6 thousand followers.
Yeah, 117,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to check it out, we're Gary and Sonia, Sonja. Gary and Sonia. That's our name on there. So if anybody wants to see the goofy things we do.
I'll put the handle on the description when I post this episode.
Oh, thank you.
No problem, Gary.
Oh,
but
we love meeting new people and hanging out. It's been a great experience for me.
Yeah, like I said, I was like, well, one day I naturally wake up at, my body alarm wakes me up at 3. So I have a buddy of mine. He's been on the podcast multiple times where he'll see a notification of my podcast being posted. He'll text me, dude, go to sleep. Like, so today I was, like I said, I was bored. I was like, okay, Gary's not online. He's not live. What's going on? He better not flake on me. I know I did him dirty, but he better not flake on me. And I'm watching some, this other lady's, live, and then she's like, same thing. It's like 12 o'clock where she's from. I think she said England or something like that. And she's like, dude, what are you doing awake at 4 a.m? I'm like, psst. It just happens. And that's how I come across like you and some of these people. I have another guy that wants to get into podcasts. I actually have his personal cell phone number. Kind of still waiting on him. But I can, I started not knowing what I was doing to, I got a radio station saying how it sounds good. Like, the audio sounds good. Like, he's like, dude, he's doing a better job than we are.
Nice.
So
that's great to hear.
So yeah, man, like I said, that's how I come across, like I said, you and other people because of TikTok and because I'm up in the morning. And like I told my wife this morning, hey babe, I try fighting it. I try to stay in bed. She goes, yeah, I know. I felt when you got up and left. I'm like, sorry.
Well, that's kind of what I enjoy about, I do get up really early and I'm on 6 a.m. Eastern time every morning. And I find that there's more international kids on at that time than kids from the United States because they're either sleeping or they're getting ready for school.
Yeah.
So a lot of the younger people that come to my live and talk to me are from Ireland and England, Australia, Scotland, Croatia, you name it. They're all over the place. And it's so cool. All of us together become friends and we know each other by, first names and stuff. So it's awesome.
So you said earlier about your kids, you try to make embarrass them.
Yeah.
Dude, did they ever give you like pushback? Like, no, Dad, like, really? Come on, Dad. Like,
yeah, they used to. We have 7 kids, and when Sonia and I married, she had 4 and I had 2, and we have one together that's now 21.
The Brady Bunch out of Kalamazoo.
Yeah, plus. So, our one together, we would try to embarrass him all the time, and it'd kind of bother him. And we started. Do you remember what was that challenge on Facebook where you dump water on your head? You remember that?
The ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, the ice bucket challenge. We did that really to embarrass the kids. We danced around and sang "Ice, Ice, Baby," and dump buckets of water on each other. And that was the first one we did. And my son was like, "Oh, you guys just need to stop," But yeah, I thought it would happen again, but they don't seem to really care. So
that's good. I mean, like I see those videos where they say that the videos were like, for the older generation on TikTok, the ones born in the 90s. I'm like,
in the 90s,
dude, there's people out there way older than the 90s. What the hell's your problem? Older generation? What does that make us, Gary?
Dinosaurs. I had a lady in my live the other day that was 97 years old.
Wow.
On TikTok at 97 years old, and she's typing to me, just like she was 30. I mean, amazing.
I say that it's like I was able to be around the time where technology hit. And it's like with me, I'm like the IT of the family. It's like, hey, is IT open? Can you come check out the Wi-Fi? Can you come see why this turned off? Last night I was up late.
The go-to guy.
Dude, Gary, last night I was up late playing with my wife's laptop because we couldn't get the internet to connect. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm Googling it. I'm restarting it. I'm updating the software. Like, what the heck is going on? So I finally YouTube a video. And the guy said, oh, yeah, you have to push F2. Gary, I was so pissed.
That's all you had to do?
Yeah, I was so pissed. F2 turns off or turns on the signal for the laptop to find Wi-Fi.
How would you know that? I mean, that's crazy.
Well,
it seems like there'd be a button.
F2 also has a Wi-Fi symbol on it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Whoops.
It has like an internet tower thing on it. So I was like, when I found that out, Gary, I was so pissed. I told my wife, you had to do this today? You wanted your laptop today? And I went to bed.
Oh, no. Were you as pissed at that as you were when you found out our podcast didn't work?
Oh, Gary, I think I was more pissed off about the podcast episode. Oh, I felt so bad. I told my wife, babe, I told Gary that his audio didn't save, and he sent me a bunch of crying emojis, and she's like, oh, no.
Yeah, I enjoyed it so much that I couldn't wait to hear it back, you know?
And even right now, we talked about it before we started recording. I'm like, how is it going to sound rehearsed? I think you're doing natural, my friend. You're knocking them out.
Well, you and I have a friendship. I think we get along great, and I can tell that we're on the same wavelengths, just talking to each other.
Like I said in the beginning when I started this podcast, people are like, well, you know, do I come? What do I say? Like, we're just having a conversation. I have a friend of mine coming by later on today that I haven't seen physically in 17 years.
Oh, wow.
So it's a natural conversation. We're just having a conversation. It's like, it's just like when you go on your lives, you're having a natural conversation with the people that are commenting and saying stuff or questioning or like whatever it is that they're,
exactly.
You know, it's, and that's why I think my wife told me also last night, because I told her, hey, I'm thinking of getting a new recording device. She goes like, you have an expensive hobby, but you've earned it. So if you want to buy it, buy it. She said, well, and then, I like doing it. Naturally, I'm a talker. My kids tell me sometimes, Dad, you know, you're talking too much. Hey, Dad, cut it. We're out in public, and my wife feel like they hope we don't bump into anybody we know, because then yappity. That's it. And my wife's not a social butterfly. So again, man, I give you props for having your wife do those TikTok videos with you, man.
Yeah, it's not easy. She's quiet. She doesn't talk much. I really have to pull things out of her. So to get her on there and acting goofy and stuff, I knew she had it in her because she's funny. But it's quite a chore to get her in there, but it's great.
The one video my boys were cracking up was the one of the police officers trying to knock the door down, and your wife's just sitting there by the door, like drinking her wine, like. They can't come in. They won't knock this door down. That was. They were laughing.
Oh, good.
But
good.
Yeah, man. Again, I thought I have you on here because I figured, okay, first I'll have a TikToker with so many followers. 117.6 thousand followers.
Right.
The next person I'll have is Fluffy. Hopefully, Fluffy.
Nice.
I have a cousin of mine that told me don't say you can't do it. Say you're gonna do it. So Fluffy, if you hear this, I love you, man.
Yeah, I can see you doing it. I think it'd be great.
I just love his story. The fact that he's a stepdad when I'm a stepdad myself. My oldest is gonna be 18 in October, and I've raised her since she was 4 months old. My wife is now a stepmom because she's helping me raise my boys, and and we know
what that's all about.
Exactly. I think the one stand-up show that he did where he's talking about giving props to all the step parents out there. Gary, I got teary-eyed, man. Like, I got my wife too. She's like, we're like almost hugging each other.
One of those moments.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. It's like, I was funny. I was talking to some lady at one of my accounts where I work at. I'm like, we're talking about movies that made me cry, Yeah.
Gary,
Selena's been dead for 25 years. And how come when I finished watching her series the other day, I started crying?
I saw something. I think you posted that on Facebook.
Yeah, I did. I did.
I saw that.
I did.
You're emotional. You're an emotional guy like me.
Oh, it just like it hurts. It's like my wife couldn't even watch the last 10 minutes of my babe, like I kind of telling her to man up, babe. We know what happens to her, and yet I'm the one crying.
It's not like there's a trick ending, right?
No, right? We know what's gonna happen. I still freaking teary eyed. Like, ah. Oh. So Kalamazoo, I never even knew that town existed.
Well, like we have a T-shirt here in Kalamazoo. Says, "Yes, there really is a Kalamazoo." Because people are like, "Yeah, that's not a real place."
So I was playing with after we talked and I was messing with in my equipment and stuff. I was thinking of the episode name, and then because I always take the title based on something either I said or my guest said, and the title is going to be Kalamazoo is real.
Yes, there is. Yeah, it's a real thing,
dude. Like I said, after we hung up, I was Googling it. I mean, you guys got what, 300,000 people in that town? 300,000 or 30,000?
Boy, I don't. You would know better than that. I've never looked it up, really. It's actually, I'm in a little suburb of Kalamazoo. It's not that big, but I live in Portage, which is right next to Kalamazoo. I have lived in the city and other cities around here, but it's a county, Kalamazoo County.
Yeah.
A lot of people. So it's not quite as big as Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is just to the north.
Yeah. And
then we have Battle Creek is just 30-minute drive away, and that's where Kellogg's is at and all your cereals. And had
nice.
a Pop-Tart this morning.
There you go. Weren't you having a Pop-Tart last time you were live and your wife told you no more Pop-Tarts? You don't listen, man.
Was it? Yeah. I can't remember.
Or you were asking for a Pop-Tart and your wife's like, no, you can't have one.
Oh, yeah. She was mad at me because I ate the last Pop-Tart. So
I actually have a sister that lives in I'm not sure if it's in Illinois. It's Ratliff. So she's a lot closer to you than I am to you.
Yeah.
So I forget sometimes that she's also 3 hours different. So it's like, then my wife said, "What are you doing calling my sister?" Dude, it's like 9 o'clock over there. I'm like, "Oh shit, I forgot."
She might actually, Illinois might be 2 hours difference for you.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I think Chicago, there's a different time zone than what we're in. So maybe it's only 2.
Borderline, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Gary, for you being raised in the 60s and 70s,
yeah,
how has technology, like obviously I see, they say that a lot of people don't know how to use technology, and like I said earlier, there's times where I have to go and I'm like the IT of the family, which makes me want to go to school and study for IT, because the company that I work for offers so many different opportunities. You can be a salesman, you can be a manager, you can be a sales manager, you can be an IT the guy that everybody calls to, or even in the design studio where you can make the banners and posters for the accounts. Yeah. How has technology, I mean, like I said, look at you, 2021, looking at, you said 60, going on 60?
Yeah.
And knowing how to use...
I'll be 60 next week.
Oh, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks.
And how is it for someone, at your age, just kind of mastering TikTok, mastering technology?
It's not bad for me because I've always had that interest. Like when I was young, my dad worked at Sears Roebuck, and he would sell electronics and appliances and TVs, all that kind of stuff. And people would bring back broken and damaged electronics. And I would take them apart, put them together, and fix them. And so I always had this need to be around that kind of stuff. And then I got into CB radios, which was awesome. I had a tower next to my house, a big old microphone that, with the push button on it. And I could talk to truck drivers, or I could talk to my friends had walkie-talkies and CBs and stuff. So I was really into that too.
It's funny because as a kid, I would take apart the VCRs, the TVs, just to see how they work, Gary, just to see how they work. And then I started noticing that as the smaller and more expensive they got, the less I mess with them, man.
Yeah, don't want to mess with that.
And it's funny you say about CB radios, because I just recently bought a radio so I can listen to the truckers go by, just to listen.
That's awesome.
And back in the day, my grandfather, who was a trucker for pretty much half his career,
Yeah.
had this really big CB like hand radio type thing. This thing was like a brick, antenna as high as tall as the house, and
Yeah.
you can listen to people like pretty much. He said, I mean, I don't know if he suckered a bunch of little kids, but he said anywhere all over the world, and you know.
Well, if it was a ham radio, it could have been a ham radio, and they do talk all over the world.
Wow.
You know?
So yeah, he had that for us. So like, I think talking and radio and technology have always been like my calling, I guess, because
Yeah.
that's what I do. Even my sister-in-law told my wife, Andy should really think about IT. He's really good at it. So,
Yeah.
and her family is really good at motivating people. And like her uncle's the one that got me to start a podcast. And they're really good. They motivate you. So I was like, you know what? I started thinking about the IT. He's like, you know what? You're right. Maybe I should think about IT to go into the, so I can stay with the company. I love this company. I love what I do. Plus,
Yeah.
I don't want to start my Kaiser insurance all over again. So,
Well, I like looking back at the technology over the years. I mean, thinking about the way, we just didn't have computers. I'm in high school. I'm a kid in high school, and you have to go to the library to look up stuff. You can't just Google anything. You didn't have that available. You had to go to the library. And then as you get into the 80s, I'd had typing class in the 70s. We'd sit at a typewriter and type. That was our keyboarding class, I guess you'd call it.
yeah.
And then as you get into the 80s, things like the Commodore 64 came out. The Commodore 64.
I Googled that. Dude, that thing's old.
And what I would do is I'd buy a magazine. They'd have magazines with all code in it that you could type in, and all it would do, it would make the computer like make a little man move, like walk or something, and it'd be like, oh, cool, I can make it do this cool thing, and I would sit there and look at the magazine, and I'd type like for hours. And if you miss one little letter or anything, it wouldn't work.
I just caught myself, Gary. I called Commodore 64 old. In reality, it came out in 1982. Hey,
There
me
you
too.
go. You were born the same year.
I think I always tell people my birthday, the year that I was born was one of the greatest. You got E.T. I think you have Michael Jackson's Thriller. And then
Yes.
I was also born the same day as The Rock. So I always like to, brag about that.
There you go.
So, yeah, I was
Very
like,
nice.
I just caught myself. Wait a minute. That thing came out in
That
84,
was a good
82.
year. But yeah, it's been a thrill to see technology change so much over the years, and wow, I've experienced so much. It's like, what can they do now? What can you do? And then you hear about all the lifelike things they're making things look like humans, and is it AI? Is that what it's called? And all kinds of creepy stuff. But
Well,
who knows?
I like to go back and like Back to the Future, for example, part 2. All the future things that they had in that movie, which were obviously fake. 80% of those fake things, technology, are now current. Like, look, he was FaceTiming with his boss. What are we doing now? This movie was filmed back in what part 2 was filmed in 87, 89, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking, 20 plus years. They predict. I'm not gonna say they predicted, because I'm sure somebody took the idea from Back to the Future to do this. It's like a lot of the items that they do on there, that they post that movie has, is real now.
Yeah.
The only thing they haven't mastered is that flying car, dude.
The flying car and transporting your body to somewhere else.
I'm waiting
That'd
for
be
that
cool.
time machine, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Shit, the DeLorean. I've wanted a DeLorean for the longest because of that movie.
Yeah,
Every
made it popular,
every
didn't it?
time I see one, it's like, they actually, where they filmed Back to the Future in the where they're at the mall, that's actually filmed in Puente Hills Mall, which is literally 15 minutes from here.
Really? I didn't know that.
They recently had the DeLorean there. They were filming like a commercial or something, and they were letting the public go look at it. And
Wow.
I was like, it was down the street, man. No way. I was so pissed off when Universal Studios took off that ride, man. No idea how pissed off I was. And I also have mentioned in the past that I was actually born maybe about a mile away from where the DeLorean was destroyed in Part 3.
Really?
It was destroyed down the street from Port Hueneme Beach at this. It's kind of like abandoned railroad track now, and because they don't use that anymore. But yeah, it was destroyed literally about a mile from my house, and then at the ending where he's having that car chase, where he doesn't go on the car chase. That's actually on Doris. For people that are from Oxnard, that's actually on Doris. Like there's, fields and new, back then it was new houses. So it blended in with the movie with the whole new hill valley or whatever. And so, but fun fact about that.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I love movies. I love movies, Gary. I
do too.
We've been I try to teach all my kids the classics and stuff like that. But
yeah, I love that too.
Back to so what was it besides technology? Obviously, what was it like growing up in the 60s and 70s? The last episode I just posted, man, we talked about how we were getting our butts whipped. 80s and 90s, they were. But I'm sure you guys were driving around in cars with no seatbelts, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
jealous.
Throw your kids in the back. We have a station wagon, and he'd face backwards about a foot away from the back window. Didn't even think about anything dangerous being around with it. No bike helmets or anything like that. It's just totally different world. We had. Have you heard of jarts? The lawn dart.
You're going to make me Google that too, huh?
Yeah, check it out. I did a TikTok about it actually, but...
Wait. Are those really big darts and you kind of launch them in your yard?
Yeah,
those look dangerous.
Metal arrows on the end of them. They're sharp. And my brother and I would throw them high in the air and try to see how close you could get to the other person.
You guys were playing chicken?
Yeah. And one day he nailed me and stuck right in my leg.
Oh. And you're the reason why that toy was banned.
That was a bad one. And we had these other, I can't remember what they're called. I want to say like knockers or something, but there was a string with these two hard, I don't know, they're almost like marbles on each end, and they're about, they're a couple inches, 2-3 inches thick, and you'd bang them together like that. Yeah. Flappers or something.
Yeah.
And they would bruise. I had bruises all over my arms, and kids were shattering them, and stuff would fly all over.
Another toy that was banned because of Gary.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Totally different.
I think the ones that we had in the 80s were a lot safer because they weren't in a string anymore. They were like a triangle plastic type thing. They were connected with a plastic, so they were a lot easier to hit. We had they still have them. It's a Mexican toy. It's called a trompo, I believe they call it, and it's like a little stick, and it has like this like ball type thing with a little hole. So you have to spin it perfectly for it to spin and land inside the stick. So
I think I've seen those before.
And then there was this other one. I could be wrong on the name, but then this is other one where it's like a little tiny thing with a little metal tip on the bottom, and you would wrap a string around it and then spin it so hard. You would throw it so hard that it would spin. It would spin on the ground. So I think nowadays it's those little toys you crank up and you let them kind of bash into each other. Kind of the same idea.
Yeah.
But you don't really see those toys anymore, man.
No, you can't. They just won't pass the crazy inspections we have now for safety. You got to be safe, because they didn't have lawsuits like that back then. Couldn't sue people.
Right. I know that if this audio gets deleted again, you're going to sue me.
Oh yeah. 2 strikes, you're out,
He
buddy.
straight out said, yeah.
Yeah, I got a lawyer waiting on hold.
Damn. You promised me May 29th. I better be on that episode. Anyways, how were your parents? I mean, you don't seem like you were a bad kid growing up, because apparently we were all knuckleheads over here.
Yeah, I grew up incredible upbringing and no complaints at all. Actually, it's, a lot of people have stories, you included, of how growing up and things that have happened in your life. But I had these parents that were just so incredible and good, and taught me about God and church and things like that. And I couldn't ask for better parents. I lost them 2 years ago, both of them. So
sorry about that.
Yeah, so that's okay. They lived a great life, and they taught us well. So great childhood. Couldn't be happier.
That's good.
And I just don't have a good story like you do, probably.
I mean, I wish that some of the stories that I shared didn't happen, but they did, and it's what made me a better person. I feel that it made me a better person because I learned a long time ago in parenting classes that, if you're in this circle of life and you don't like the way it's turning out, come this way. And I preach that a lot. I always say that a lot. Like, make your own circle, go to a different circle. Like, just don't cycle the same, to me. And that's why with my kid, it's funny because the other day there was a post on Facebook that said, what is the one thing your father taught you? And my response was to never leave my kids. That is the best advice he ever gave me since he left me.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it as a positive. That's a positive. I feel like that's a positive message.
Right.
I learned to be there for my kids, no matter how crazy the mother of my kids drove me. I had the opportunity to take off Northern California, get out of here. And I stuck around. I said, nope, I cannot leave my kids behind. And so, again, Gary, I wish that some of these stories that I shared never happened. Yeah. But they happened. And
they've all shaped you. We go through things in life that shape us into who we are. And even if they're bad, I haven't had a 100% great life either. I've gone through a lot of ups and downs and depression and divorces and things like that. But everything that we've gone through shapes us into who we are. It molds us.
And it's funny because, like you said about you kind of learn stuff or whatever out of the way. Like I try to teach. I try to, not teach. I'm not preaching to my kids, but I try to, give them examples. So for example, I know my daughter is kind of bugged because I'm not with their mom. My daughter's going to be 18. I know deep down inside that still bothers her. Because when we were going through all that, she was about 5, 6, so she got to live it. The boys were a little too young and naive, but she lived it. Yeah. And like I tell my son, everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm. I believe in God. I mean, I go to church. I don't try to preach it on my podcast, but I do. And this was a gift. This little Bible verse was a gift from me from a friend that she gave me years ago when I was going through hard times. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and hope. Jeremiah 29:11.
Very nice.
And
it's a good one.
This is when I was going through troubles, and a friend of mine gave it to me as a birthday gift. And this was maybe 10 years ago. 11, maybe, no, I lied, 9 years ago. It's right here. It's right here on my desk. And
that's awesome.
That is true. That is 100% true. I feel that the moment I started going to church, and my wife, like I told my son, it wasn't meant for me to be with your mom, Mijo. It was meant for me. It was meant for you boys to be created. That was the plan. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't meant for me to be with your mom, because it was meant for me to find, my wife and who you guys love and adore. Oh, Gary, my wife can say "ow" and they're on me like white on rice. Like, what did you do to my mom? Like, ooh.
Right.
Whoa, it's easy. I didn't do anything to her. Babe, back me up. And she loves it. She, I don't know what you're talking about. So they're like, babe, they're about to hit me. Are you serious? You know, because
That's great.
that was the plan. The plan wasn't, you know, he has a future for you. He does. So
Yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
I try to share my stories on the podcast so that people are going through a hard time, you know, they
I,
can go forward, man. They it's not that bad. Here's my shoe. Put it on for like 2 minutes. You'll be done. Take it the hell off.
right. And when I'm on TikTok on the lives, when I'm talking to people live, you know, I don't preach either. But if someone asks me, you know, I'm willing to tell them where my faith comes from and my happiness.
Yeah.
You know, why are you always so happy, Gary? And it's like, well, I'll tell you, you know, and I'll tell them, but I'm not going to preach it to anybody. And so I'd tell them that. And I also say, if you need if you want me to pray for you about anything, just drop me a message, you know, something like that. So,
I've been called multiple nicknames: Happy Go Lucky, Sunshine, anything
I'm
positive.
going to call you Sunshine.
I've been called so many things because when I'm at work, people don't see an angry person. They don't see a depressed person. They see that happy-go-lucky that I was recently called.
Yeah.
And they don't believe that when I tell them, yeah, you know, like, you know, what makes you so happy all the time? Because, you know, 13 years ago, I tried to kill myself. Gary, they don't believe that. They don't believe that because they can't see it. And that's why it's like, I appreciate life and there's no point in being down. If I come home and I'm a little bummed out, then that's because I'm at home and, you know, maybe the rent's due and I'm like, shit, I know I have it, but it's like, but I try to not look so down and I try to be positive all the time.
Find the positive things.
Try to be happy all the time. And I try to show that to my kids and you know, my wife, which is my next question. My wife has learned to tolerate my shit for a long time because we went to therapy and marriage counseling before we got married. So she understood and understands what my triggers were, where they told her, if you're going to marry this man, you need to have a lot of patience because he has a lot of triggers. So my question to you is, how have you managed to what is your advice to a long-lasting marriage? Because you say you and your wife are like, what, 22 years, 21 years, 22?
Yeah. Well, we've also been divorced, you know, as well. So I'm probably not the expert at
but you've been with your wife now for 20-some years, right?
Yeah, and we're very much in love.
Ignore the last one. That one doesn't count.
All right. I tried to. So, yeah, I think, you know, and we've mentioned before how important communication is. And I think that's the biggest one is, you know, don't hold things back. Tell each other what's on your mind. Tell each other what you're feeling. Talk through things. Plan things together. Do things together. I think all of those, you know, and it's forgiveness. Love. You know, my wife loves me in spite of me. In spite of the stupid things I do, you know, we still love each other. But that's the main key, I think, is communicating and forgiveness.
I've said that for the longest about communication. I actually was talking to a coworker on Friday, and I was telling her about communication is the key to everything, Gary. Not just you know, with your wife. It's with your family. It's with your friends. It's with your coworkers. It's with your bosses. Communication is the key to everything. It's so simple. It's the easiest thing to do, and yet people don't practice it.
Right.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
I think it's getting worse in the age of text.
That wasn't
messaging. There's not that face-to-face communication where we're using our mouths.
That was another example that I brought up to her. Is like, I feel that I said it. The person that invented text messaging, F you, man. F you. Because things get misworded. Things get said wrong. And this is the one thing I've always said before text messaging. I've always said this. The word okay has 1,000 definitions, Gary. 1,000. Yeah. You know, my wife.
And how you say it.
Exactly. It all depends on your tone. You can say, okay. And it's like, to me, that's like, whatever. You know, you can say,
Yeah.
okay, to me, that's fuck off, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just how you say it. And sometimes my wife says something and I'm like, well, what do you mean? You know, and my kids are the ones, Dad, that's her thinking face. Like,
Nice.
it's hard. It's like,
Thinking
I'm a babe. I bought a creamer, but I don't know if I did a good thing or a bad thing. Because her face, she goes, babe, I'm just processing it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying no. Like the other day when I bought my little hand radio, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
but babe, even Officer Ricky said it's a good idea to have one. She goes, I'm not questioning you.
Right.
Because I have a brother-in-law. I have a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law that are LAPD. And
Nice.
I've had them on the podcast. If you ever get a chance to listen to them, anyone that says
Oh, that'd be cool.
Officer Ricky on it, that's my brother-in-law. And
I'll check that one out for sure.
and he, I'm like, hey, dude, I'm gonna, that's a good idea, because it's like it's either this or a gun. I don't want a gun. I don't want a
Right.
gun. It's just times are getting crazy, Gary. Is out here, it's getting dangerous, man. So
Oh, I've heard a lot.
If
about
I-
that. That's
if-
too bad.
if I'm scheduled to clock out at 2:30 and I am not home, example, yesterday, Friday, my son's like, why you late, Dad? Like, what are you talking about? She goes, you're late. I'm like, I drove in the driveway 3 minutes late. I clocked out at 2:30. It's now 2:33. Yeah, where were you those 3 minutes? What? They're not doing it out of like insecurity or anything like that. They're doing it
Yeah.
because one, they love me. Two, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's really been crazy out here. And, this little thing is going to help me kind of know what's going on.
Good. Well, yeah, it's scary what some of the things going on in the world today, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, it's like back to communication. Like I said, communication is the key to everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Gary, everything. Do it, man. Do it. Just communicate. Just, it's funny because I just recently said something to someone because, they weren't honest with someone and they try to find a way to get out of it by making excuses or whatever. And I said it, we were in a group setting and I said it to everybody. I'm saying it right now. The problem with you guys is the fact that you guys are afraid to be honest with each other because you guys don't want to hurt each other's feelings. And that doesn't work.
It's true.
You can't lie to somebody because you don't want to hurt their feelings. My wife tells me to this day, you're an asshole. You're an asshole. In the beginning, I'm like, babe, that's it. We're going to divorce. And she was going to like freak out. And now it's like, where do I sign? Where do I sign? Because she knows that that's who I am. And, I'm joking. But when it comes to communication, I'm like, hey, ¿sabes qué? There's the door. And she's like, this is my mom's house. You get out. And then my kids communicate, Dad, we're staying with her. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you got to be honest with people. You can't not communicate because you're afraid you're going to hurt their feelings. I've said stuff to friends
I agree.
I've said stuff to friends that, that they've gotten their feelings hurt or stopped talking to me. I think the other day I said, this is getting kind of old and they're like, fine then. I'm like, but this is like this pattern is getting old. Like you take my advice, you don't take my advice. It's like,
Yeah.
But so communication works with you and the wife?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good. We always struggle. I mean, everybody does, but I think that's the key. Now, whether we do that 100% of the time as we should, no. But yeah, we try. Like I say, I'm outgoing and I want to communicate. If we're fighting, I can't go to bed like that. I need to talk it out.
Oh, I saw that video. I saw that video. That is like my wife is the same. She does not like to go to bed angry at each other because the way she sees it is like, what if neither one of us wakes up in the morning? Like, this is what we want to, be mad at each other. I get to the point where I'm like, no, I'm angry. I'm going to face the wall. We'll talk later. And if it was an ugly discussion the night before, the next morning she'll get this long ass email. Because I'd rather I rather, like, there's days where she's like, we're not fighting, but we're getting to a disagreement where my face is getting kind of red because I'm getting upset, and I'd rather be quiet. And she doesn't want that quiet because I'm like, I'm just processing everything you're saying. Because if I don't process it, I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna say something I'm gonna regret. So in the morning, I'll send you an email.
There you go. That's not a bad idea. Let it sink in a while, and then share your feelings afterwards.
Exactly. Like I told her one day, if you guys don't want me venting to other people, then I should be allowed to be venting to you. And then, you know, like, this is what bothered me. This is what was said. And, you know, this is what I don't appreciate. And the same thing goes for her. It's like she says things that I catch myself saying sorry. I grew up in a time where that word meant nothing, Gary. It meant nothing to me. Like,
because you heard it so much.
Exactly. I heard it so much that sorry meant nothing. And so to me, it's like, if I say sorry, which I am sorry, but I don't feel I need to say it. F that word, you know? So I can be like a total douchebag in the morning and I leave. No joke. I'm barely around the corner, Gary, and I'm already texting her sorry. And she knows. She knows that when I text her sorry, I mean it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Communication, people. Communication. So, what else, Gary? What else has happened in the 60s and 70s that you want to share before we end this podcast?
Oh boy. Let's see. It was, I don't know. I think the world in general is different especially the last couple of years is different than anything I've ever seen, as far as sensitivities and racism and those. I mean, it's just way different in the 60s and 70s. Just people's attitudes. Of course, I was pretty much a small town kid and raised in that environment, and you know, we all knew each other's business, and but we get along and stuff. And I miss some of those simple values that you just don't see anymore these days. You know, the people are so angry and violent.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to shoot a gun because that's how angry people are.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So it's changed. So and that's something, you know, talking about guns. Sonia and I both conceal carry. And I don't even.
That's why you don't piss her off. That's why you don't piss her off.
She's got a weapon.
She's got a weapon.
No, and I, you know, violence and that kind of thing can happen anywhere, but I'm not nearly in a situation as you are.
Oh yeah, it's bad out here.
But you know, and I'm sure you've got your own views on firearms and those kind of things. But we come from a family. We have kids that are in the military, and they've shown us how to the need for firearms and how to use them properly and etc. So it's just kind of a natural thing for us. Both of our parents, both of our dads were in the service as well.
Nice. Thank you for the service.
So that's kind of a natural thing for us, even though we hope to never, ever, ever, have to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although we do like to go and practice, you know, at a range and stuff like that. So that's something we enjoy doing together.
I have a few questions for you. Before we get into the questions, any last words for the listeners that
Yeah, it's something I say on my lives when I go live on TikTok. I tell everybody, you know, when my time is up, I say, I just want you to know that I love you. You know, even if you don't hear that from anyone else today, I love you and I'm thinking about you. I want you to know that I want you to be a joy to someone today. Be joy to anyone. And it's a lot easier to be joy to people that you care about. Try doing it to someone you don't care about.
It's funny you say that, Gary. Oh, it's funny you say that. It is my goal to make sure I make someone laugh a day.
Yeah, me too.
That's it. There was this account I used to have. Obviously, I'm a beer salesman, so there's an account I used to have where the guy was always angry, always upset, and I get it. He has to work all the time. I get it. You come in happy-go-lucky, walks in the store, and it's like, like one day I said, "Hey, how was your weekend?" I was here. Oh, whoa. So I got to the point where it was my mission to make that guy laugh. Where the other salesman, when I as I'm walking out, for the different company, the guy's walking in, and he would ask me, "Hey, how's Mike doing?" I'm like, "Dude, I just left. What do you think?" He goes, "You made him laugh?" Right. Fuck yeah, I made him laugh. So as long as I made that man laugh, everyone else was going to have a good visit. Everyone else was going to be able to talk to him. So it's funny you say that, because yes, my intention is to try to make someone laugh a day. I'm not a comedian, but that's just who I am. People actually say, "Hey, you talk like Fluffy." That's not my intention, but okay.
Yeah.
Even if it's
it's a positive thing, sure.
Even if it was that day making that lady laugh about the zombie joke, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can get someone to laugh, even my kids, that's when I embarrass them. Like, "Really, Dad? That was a lame joke." Hey, dad joke, So.
Well, that's why we do TikTok, to make someone laugh and bring some joy. And also, I tell, I was going to say the kids, but there's adults too. Before I leave, I said, be the light in a dark world. Be the light in this very dark world. You can make the difference.
The father, the priest of the church that we go to, he made that similar reference, but he said, "Be a daisy in the field of weeds."
There you go.
That's why I like going to that priest. That's why I like going to his masses.
I like that.
Yeah, be the daisy in the field of weeds. So now to the questions.
Oh, here we go.
Did the moon landing happen?
I didn't even know it was a theory that it didn't until the last few years, but I still think it happened. I think it happened. I think people are looking into it too much, but
it brings a point that, like, the whole flat earthers thing. It's like, dude, they were on the moon. They sent us a picture from Earth. Earth is not flat. Hello.
But if they didn't go to the moon,
right? So you believe it happened? It's real?
I do believe it happened. Yes.
It wasn't recorded in a studio or anything like that.
No, we saw it on the black and white TV when I was a kid.
You were what, 8 when that happened?
What year was it?
69, I believe.
Yeah, 8 years old.
Wow. This one was Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that reminded me. In school in 1968, the Tigers won the World Series, and every day they'd wheel in this black and white TV, and we'd sit there and watch the Tigers in the World Series.
Similar back then. I still did watch TV. They still brought the cart with the TV on it in school and stuff. And sadly, I watched the Challenge disaster on TV.
Oh,
you got to see the landing. Yeah, that was horrible.
I was working the same place I am now. Actually, I've been there almost 40 years, but I was in charge of recording. We had the VHS tapes, and I would record educational programming. So I was recording that space launch, and that was a horrible thing, wasn't it?
And I know that happened because I went to a school named after that lady, Crystal McAuliffe. So I went to a school named after that teacher. So I know that happened. All right. This next question was brought by one of my listeners. She wants to know, did J.B. Cooper really steal a plane in 71?
Well, I've read about it. I read stuff and have seen stuff on TV all these years, and it just seems like every maybe 5 years we get an update, and it just keeps, so-and-so said it really did happen. And they claim he jumped with all this money out of the plane. He's got all this money, stole the plane and jumped out of it or something and landed in a wooded area, and they just never found him. Did he get away with it? Did he die? What's the scoop? But I don't know.
It was
Nobody
a big plane,
knows.
right? It was a huge plane, right? 747 or something like that?
I can't remember.
I'm talking to you on my phone, so I can't Google it.
Yeah. Later, Google that. Let me know.
I'll Google that later. I'll send you the screenshot. And
I'll go to the library and look it up.
there's a video where you're trying to www dot whatever. You can just Google, Gary.
Yeah.
You can just Google. That one was funny too. MySpace. That was funny. And the more serious question to the end: who shot JFK?
Oh, boy. I grew up thinking it was just the one shooter. I was going to say John Wilkes Booth. I'm not that old.
Dude, speaking of, I asked my grandma one day if she was afraid when the train was invented, and she was like, "I'm not that old," and she stopped sending me birthday money for a few years.
That was a bad move on your
right?
part.
I tried to make her laugh. It didn't work.
So I think over the years more has come out about Kennedy, and I used to trust the government, and I really don't. So I think it's possible something's going on.
Oh, Gary,
could be more to it than that.
Gary, you're a sport, my friend. I only ask those questions because you're the second person that's been on the podcast that was alive in these times, and that one I forgot to ask. My buddy Frank, I forgot to ask. And Gary, you're a sport, my friend. Thank you for coming on again. Thank you for redoing this. I really, really appreciate it. I felt so bad. This conversation was natural as well. We were worried about the last one, and did we forget anything from the last one? Not that I can think of. So,
well, I think we actually
talked more.
Talked about different things we didn't even discuss last time. So it's been great.
So
we'll have to do a part 3.
So, and maybe next time we get Sonia's part of the story. Yeah. I want to make sure that you truly are afraid of her because she has a gun.
And it's pink.
Oh, Gary,
pink.
Again, you're a sport, my friend. Thank you so much. And like I end every podcast, Gary, thank you for riding with me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for letting me ride with you. Anytime. I got shotgun.
You hear that, Paul? He's got shotgun.
Thank you for listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Indie Podcast. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean.